Danish girl, teenager, and she had had this pregnancy out of wedlock with their um, a boy they had there to take care of their horses, who was from the Indian reservation. So he was Chippewa, and my mother was a a sensate, and I was intuitive, and she always wanted to know what I was doing, but we really didn't communicate. My father was an extroverted sensate, and so he really didn't know what I was doing, and he would tell me I had delusions of grandeur, which I really did. I really did, because
Yeah,
I
my
was so.
father was always telling me delusions of grandeur and laughing. I didn't know what that was for years. I mean,
It
yeah,
was true. I mean,
right.
yeah, because, but it wasn't a good thing, because I was so unconscious. It was unbelievable. I was just telling him, Gary, that my wife, her analyst wanted me to write up a history of my life, and that was one of the aspects. But anyway, I said, and this was something that Amy and I kind of, got along really well, although we didn't, we were kind of back to back. I had this feeling that we were getting along, but we were back to back, and then we slowly turned around and to face each other. But we kind of hit it off a little bit, chemistry wise, and because I used to say, I like lazy accountants and lazy judges and lazy policemen and lazy girlfriends, you know. So she kind of fit the bill, because I was pretty lazy myself, So anyway, well, that's enough. I was thinking about sending out this little history I did, because I might edit it a little bit, but it's kind of an interesting thing to do. I'd never done it before.
Yeah,
Sure.
I did a history like Jung from the
Oh
inside,
yes.
from how I saw things. I only got up to where I was 32. And I quit. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It took me about a year and a half.
Well, yeah, mine's only like a few paragraphs, but mine was all pivotal events, that happened in my life, and I'm not. I told her, I said, I'm not proud of it, but it was really a, um, see, I was like born on April 18th, so I had this feeling that there was three fours and a one, and it had something to do with Maria Prophetessa, and it had something to do with, out of the one comes the four, and four comes the one, and which was feminine wholeness, and which was something I sorely lacked, and like I say, this my grandfather was from Norway, and I went to see one of his first cousins, and within 5 minutes of meeting me, she told me in Norwegian, she says, Craig, you are up in the clouds, and I was a pueri eternus. I was Peter Pan, didn't have and I lived in the land where children never grow up. My feet are on the ground, you know. She says, I want you to go back to America and marry the first girl you meet. So anyway, well, do either one of you have a dream that you want to? I've had some great dreams. And I was going to tell you, I've been doing these active imaginations, and I asked the Great Mother to show me her face, and she did, and um, it flashed from an animal face to a woman face, an animal face to a woman face, and back and forth. And I'd always been real fascinated by Amy's sister, who died in 1977 of a drug overdose, but everybody was just in love with her. And I've got some videos of her singing on YouTube, and I just kind of had the feeling in the darkness that she was with me, and I invited her to come, and I felt the darkness coming towards me, and then so I kind of included her in our little team, which was me and a very feeling anima who doesn't really care about anything but relationship, and then this woman who sits on the ground all the time. And so then her too, who is a Sora Mystica, and one thing she told me that was that she that nobody controls her. She's totally independent, and she's just gonna hang around. She's not sure she wants to stay, and so this morning I was trying to summon her again on our little journey, and I suddenly saw a face that goes, no, that, so I was a little taken aback by that. But I'm going to take the message seriously, although, she was this one when we were wrapping presents with the 3-year-old grandson who he tells us while we're wrapping Christmas presents, he says to Amy, he says, your sister misses you very much. And we're all looking at her, and he says, I said, did she say anything else? And he says, yes, she said that she was supposed to go to a wedding, but she missed it, and which was true. That's why she overdosed, And then there was one other time when Amy was sleeping, I heard her saying a real strange voice, hi, Ivan. She said in a real strange voice, ha ha, I'm only on a hiatus. And the next morning, Amy told me she had this dream about her sister had just been hiding for 40 years. And I said, well, I heard you say in the middle of the night, it wasn't your voice. Ha ha, I'm only on a hiatus. So anyway, I don't know. That was this morning. We'll see what happens. Does anybody have a dream they want to start out with? And Charles said he was going to have a couple, but he keeps getting jobs. I think his car was out and his bike was out.
I've got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or I've got it in the chat window too. So
all right, great.
Good luck on this one. This makes no sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a tall office building that I apparently work in, and I've got an office with a outside window.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what my job is there, but I think I'm in charge of the unconscious because I have no official duties. And so from the window in the office, I see a large 2-engine plane fly by, and a man, possibly the pilot, I don't know, he steps out of the cockpit door onto the wing. And he begins working on something, maybe the door with a crescent wrench. And then at one point, he drops the wrench and he kind of quickly jumps off, but he holds on to the wing and he tries to catch the crescent wrench with his feet, but he misses. So he pulls himself back up onto the wing. And then, and I'm thinking, oh, that wrench is going to fall on somebody in the city below and maybe injure them. So then he goes back inside, and then he comes out with a screwdriver and he starts working on, I don't know, the door or something again. And then after a while, he goes in, and then he comes out with a piece of cloth, and he holds this cloth overhead. I have a picture. Let's see if I can share. Yeah. Okay, so so he comes out and another person come out, and you can kind of see the cloth, and the cloth, and this can't be, but the cloth is just standing straight up, and they're both on this wing. And then at one point, they both just sort of like, okay, now we're going to step off. And so they both step off the wing, and drop down. I don't see them hit the ground or anything, but they both step off the wing. So there's
All right, well, let's get
engine.
going on now. And a lot of these dreams that seem like they're a little chaotic, are not chaotic if we, just look at them in segments.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a, we look at each, just a second. He'll stop barking if I tell him to stop, but I
Here,
I'm going to mute. Stop. Okay. Anyway, so you're in a tall office building that you apparently work in, and you have an office with an outside window. So you're an observer on the top of a very high tower, and this is a place of work. This is a place where you do things, but you're there somewhat as a with a very vague task. You're not sure what your function is. You might be in charge of the unconscious, since you seem to have no official duties. So, in that, since you have no official duties, you're not in charge of anything that has any rational clarity. So, if you were in charge of the unconscious, you're in charge of again the symbolic thinking. You're in charge of this idea of the metaphorical language of amplification. Remember the two things the images are asking us. One is the medium of creative expression. You did a drawing. Hi, Dawn. I'm just getting started. I'm going to repost, or could you repost the
post
in the chat again?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, so having vague duties, no rational, clear duties, is very similar to this idea of symbolic thinking. We're not doing directed thinking. We're doing like, a frog is to a toad, as a bee is to a wasp, or as the full moon is to the crescent moon. Or the crescent moon is full moon. There's this idea of that this task is in the high tower, in the highest place, is not a one of directed or logical thinking. There's an aspect of it that's somewhat magical. And what Jung said, that what the ancient, and this isn't something he made up either, that he had a very, very long discussion with Philemon, and this is actually how he met Philemon, is he heard that Philemon was practiced in the magical arts, and so he sought out Philemon for him to tell him about magic. And Philemon is very cagey about it, but suddenly he starts to sort of instruct him on it, and it turns out that it has to do with everything that is neither nor. So it has to do anything that is not to do with anything that makes sense. And anyway, the idea of what Jung said was that what the ancients called magic, we call psyche. So that seems to be your duty, but in the tower and in the highest place. Okay, now the first visitor that you have while you're up here from this vantage point is a large 2-engine plane. So it's a plane of the polarity. It possesses the opposites. You know, it has two. It is a plane that possesses a left and a right. Okay, a man, possibly the pilot. Now, let's talk about the vehicle. You know, it's not a car, it's not a bicycle, it's not a bus. You know, it's a plane, and it's a large two-engine plane. So it is a vehicle of um, the spiritual realms. You know, the realms above the earth. You know, so it is a spiritual plane, and so the it's literally in the spiritual plane. You know, that's where Roy says he spends most of his time. You know, so anyway, there's a man, possibly the pilot, who steps out of the area of the direction of this vehicle, is containing vehicle. Now, every vehicle is a vessel, and the vessels always represent uh, uh, something to do with the feminine. You know, this is a place of containment. You know, and so the man, who seems to be the one who is directing this vehicle that contains the polarities, steps out onto one of the wings, and he begins to use the sensate function on it. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, what's our inferior function? It's sensate. So he's working on it. Um, well, you know, this is where my inferior function is most displayed, is when I'm trying to fix something. But here he's a man; he's expert at the sensate function, and not only that, he could do it standing on a wing of a plane that's flying through. So he's very adept at the spiritual plane. He's also he is the I would say that he is the magician of the sensate function. He's a magician of the sensate function. So he's if he is the wise old man, he represents the sensate function, the one, the bridge of us to the images. Okay, all right. Now it's maybe he's working on the door. It's a crescent wrench, so it's a lunar wrench. You know, it represents something about the lunar world. You know, not not the sun world of Apollo. This is a lunar wrench. So it's lunar and it's sensate. So these are all have to do with the unconscious. You are in charge of the unconscious, okay? And on top of the tower. You know, it's funny that because it's in a high a place, and yet there is a lot of the middle realm symbols here. You know, the lunar, the sensate function, and the fact that the plane, which is not connected with the earth, but you know, it's like the duck. You know, the duck is a creature of the upper realms, the earth, and of the unconscious. You know, it can go into any three of the realms. This one can either be on the earth or in the upper realm. So it can kind of be on the middle realm, not the lower realm, but it could be in the middle realm of soul. And you, you know, the soul has three parts too. If we're unconscious of the soul, she splits up into three, and she splits up into the human soul, which we're unconscious of, the serpent, which has to do with the lower realms, and the serpent does not want to be, we can't grasp it, and so it slithers away, but we need to follow it because it is we need to go where the serpent goes. And then the other is the dove. So this still could represent something to do with the soul, and the fact that it's the crescent moon wrench and the master, the sensate function seems to be, and that it's the director of this feminine vehicle. It seems to be almost like the son of the mother, possibly, not an Apollonian figure, but something a little bit different. My great mother has birds, but they're woodpeckers. They stay close to the rooted tree, and the shoe-billed stork is another avian creature, yet not an eagle, not a dove. Okay, and then he drops it, and he leaps to retrieve it, and he's holding on the wing with his fingers, and he tries to catch it with his feet, but he misses it. And you worry that this lunar sensate realm is going to fall down and hit somebody, something. And he pulls himself up back on the wing, goes out with a screwdriver, and commences again. And then there's this idea of with a partner now. Now, is this partner male or female?
I think they're both males.
They're both males. Okay. And they're both on one side of the wing. Can you, they were on, if the plane is looking at us, they're on the right-hand side of the wing, right?
That's right.
The right wing. Okay. And so there's two male figures on the right wing, somewhat unbalanced, so they're in the conscious attitude, yet they have to do with the unconscious function, which is sensate function. And after a while, he goes out and then comes out with a piece of cloth, holds it straight up in the air. Second person comes and does the same. So they're holding up a banner of some type, and then they both jump off the wing. Now, the banner, I'm not sure what the purpose is, but Roy, why don't you get started and see if you can get anything going for us.
I'm just getting, Gary has a interesting sense of humor, and I'm getting like this alter ego, maybe the same entity that gave him a donkey and a chihuahua. It's like this humorous thing, so it reminds me of a Charlie Chaplin movie. It's all silent, and there's a lot of suspense and humor, and it's like all up in the air. It's like the dream is telling him, okay, let's just have some fun here. Just some recreation. This is sort of funny, nothing serious, no constructs here. Just, it's like a Charlie Chaplin film we get to watch.
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting to me that you saw all this. I mean, in other words, are they circling the building, or
I mean,
are you
that
seeing
just
it from
makes
far
no
away?
sense. How could I? Because I mean, this all takes a while to happen, and the plane
It's sort of hovering in the air.
Isn't that far away, but it's flying along. But somehow I have no problem seeing this entire scene.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's sort of you're moving with the plane. So you're almost, it isn't like a fixed tower. It's just a fixed position high up.
Yeah.
So it's following. So it isn't so much that you're in a fixed tower, but you have a vantage point that is very high up. And so you're following the plane as it's going, and almost in tandem with it.
Right.
Kevin, hi Kevin. We put the dream in the chat. So
reposted.
Yeah, I reposted it. Yes.
You did? Okay.
Okay. What do you think, Ivan?
Well, it's really interesting. So to me, like I guess, and it's been noted, but elevation seems to have a big importance in this dream. You are high up, but not as high up as the airplane. You are still connected to the ground, whereas this airplane is essentially just hovering in the sky. So the characters on the airplane strike me maybe as buffoons. I don't know if you got that feeling, but well, they're going out there. They're trying to fix the door of this plane. Maybe the door, we're not sure. Well, it's in the air with a crescent wrench. And then he drops it and he tries to drop down and hold the wing and catch it with his feet. And then he tries to fix it with a screwdriver. And then at the end, like the cloth to me sounded like a parachute, like a bad parachute,
Really bad parachute.
Cloth, so now we can escape this plane that's just hovering in the sky. So there's this aspect of just the ridiculousness with it, where you are observing these characters in the sky that are kind of acting irrationally. I don't know what the meaning of that is. That's just the way it kind of strikes me.
Yeah,
very irrationally. Go ahead.
Totally.
It's quite a, the Charlie Chaplin aspect, the aspect that there's somewhat of buffoonish. I mean, if you're going to fix the door, why don't you fix it when you're down on after you landed? Why would you fix it in flight?
Right.
Yeah. Did you want to read it over? Why don't Dawn, if you want to just put in some comments in the chat, you can do that. Unless you feel free to unmute though, if you would like to say a few words, but you don't need to if you just want to observe. But I would say if you have any, like Dawn, if this was your dream, what would be some of your thoughts? Maybe you could put that in the chat. But let's kind of review it again, just for Kevin's sake too. Here is you're in. Let's just say you have a high vantage point. You have a very high vantage point. It's up in the air. You do not have any real clear functions. You seem to be in charge, a master, or been put in charge of the psyche, or the unconscious world. Okay, and so now that's just stop, full stop right there. That's what our role is, and we have a high vantage point, and yet from the high vantage point, we are to be somewhat of a cleric of the unseen world. Okay, we are to collect or to observe and note things that happen in the unseen world. Okay, we have a high vantage point. Perhaps that helps us. Okay, from the high vantage point, what's the first thing we see as this person who is observing the unseen world? We see this what I think Ivan and Roy have very accurately described as an almost comical scene. I mean, it is very fumbly, and it's also something very unusual. It's almost like watching clowns at the circus. There's an aspect of this as a performance, some type, perhaps performed by tricksters or someone who is what do they call those haikoas, the one that always do the walk backwards in Indian tribes. There's someone who's very remote from the conscious world, and deliberately so, and so they seem to be tricksters if they're anything else, and yet they are masters of the sensate function. They seem to be almost acrobatic, they are performing almost stunts in midair. They are trying to fix a door. So they're trying to fix to fasten or make something work, and they have a lunar, some kind of a device that's connected with the moon world, you know. So and then they abandon this farcical activity and descend. Okay, so now this sort of tells me that they are creatures of the earth. They're not. This is not where they belong. The fact that you are up in the air, though, seems to mean that if I'm going to observe the psyche, I typically wouldn't do it from high up. I would do it from low down or down low, you know. So it might be that from the high vantage point that we see only a more a less solemn or less serious aspects of the unconscious activity, you know, something that's a little more a little more chaotic, you know. It isn't anyway. I'm trying to what do you think? Anybody have any more comments about it, and then maybe we can sum it up one more time.
Well, there's this vessel that is trying to ascend to the heavens, but it is driven by incompetence. And so even though it has ascended, it can't stay there, and it will, or at least the maybe the plane will just stay there, but the occupants of the plane will essentially need to eventually descend to the ground because they don't belong there.
Yeah, they seem to have abandoned it. You know, abandoned the task of piloting it to the ground anyway.
Yeah, and the observer is interesting too, just because they don't seem to have a very useful role. They're in charge of something, but it's unclear what. They're not connected close enough to the ground to make much of a difference, but they also can't affect what happens in the heavens. They can only see it.
Yeah, and they're even though they are trying to use the sensate function, they aren't very skillful at it. They tend to fumble and things. So they don't seem to be of this realm, you know. And instead of descending to the earth normally in the plane, landing it, going back to the ground, they say, we're not going to get back to the ground through this chair. We've tried to, or through this plane. We tried to fix it. It didn't. We tried to fix it with the moon wrench. It didn't work. We're just going to descend, and we're going to descend with a cloth, so with a woven material, something
almost like a flag, like a pendant.
Right. Yes, it's a banner of some type.
Yeah.
But it's a woven material which they hold up almost as if it's a magical device, you know. And so they first, before they descend, they hold it up almost in a ceremonial fashion, and then after they do that together, the consciousness of this vehicle of the heights, they descend to earth. So then that leaves you and this unpiloted plane alone. And any other comments, Roy?
I'm still stuck with Charlie Chaplin. I mean, it's like a 4x4 cloth, and the magician can disappear behind it, but not 4x4. And they didn't disappear in the way the magician does. They jump off the plane. I mean, it's just it's funny to me. I keep laughing.
It's a 2-engine plane, and the cloth is 2x4, so it has some fairly interesting numbers, you know. And yet the only thing that we could say in the dream that is feminine would be the plane itself, you know, which seems to be flying fine without being fixed, you know. And yet the masculine aspect is not satisfied with it, and bails out and descends. So let me just give a stab at it. Let's say I had this dream, and then let's all do this exercise. I had this dream. What would it be telling me? I think if I had this dream, it would, I would first be very suspicious that I'm so, have such a high vantage point, because that's not a healthy place for me. I need to be grounded. And so the fact that I have a high vantage point somewhat gives me, I don't know, is it acrophobia, or it's just a fear of being up high. And yet I have companions here. I have a feminine vessel, and I have two trickster figures. So I'm starting to think that these are shadow figures. You know, these are not, they're not the wise old man. They are shadow figures. They are shadow figures. That's why they are fixing things. We don't fix things. Intuitives don't fix things very well. They don't fix things very well either, because they're not very good with the sensate function. I think you're an exception to that, Gary. You probably do fix things pretty good, but I don't. Okay. So anyway, I think those are shadow figures, and the anima is the plane. You know, the anima is the plane, and the shadow descends to the earth, leaves you up high. So now, again, I'm saying if I had this dream, I would say that in the upper realms, the anima is very is less earthy. She's more of a avian creature. So she's like the dove. You know, we're unconscious of the anima when we're up high. She's the dove. And in this case, she's a plane. She's associated, she's married to the shadow to some extent. So that means that we're yet to be, have integrated the shadow, or to be aware of the anima at a sufficient rate anyway. And then the shadow bails out, leaves you alone with the anima, who is a mute vehicle, and she's blind, and she doesn't seem able to communicate with us, and she's very she lacks warmth, you know. So anyway, that would be what I would be thinking, is that my anima, when I'm up this high, so what would my thing is that I'm up too high, you know, at this height, I'm not going to have a very good relationship with the anima. And so now I'm up there alone with this very, this anima, which lacks eros. It lacks relatedness, you know. So that is what would be nice would be to see the dream before and the dream after, you know, to do it. But I'd love that you did the picture of it. Could you just put that up on the screen one more time, the picture? And let's just look at that for a second.
Yeah, okay. So there's the cloth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the scale isn't quite right. The plane should be larger. But yeah, and they're just standing there on the wing, and then they just happily step off with the cloth overhead, like, yep, no problem.
Yeah, it has a it has a rosy hue and a little bit of lavender in it and some blue, and it also has earth colors. What are the brown things? Is that the engines, or
motor there and a motor there? Yeah.
Yeah, they're brown. So what moves it is some earthy thing, yet it possesses the feeling function. So it does have eros to some extent, but I would say that this is the only anima we got in this dream, and the shadow figures. Do you remember that they were wearing orange in the dream or
No,
not? Okay,
I did that
but
just for contrast, you know.
yes,
I
okay,
don't remember what color they were wearing.
okay, but they're fiery. You know, there's something fiery about them. And Jung says often, you know, we never remember the dream um, exactly, and we always, the conscious mind always adds a few things, but he says that doesn't make any difference. It makes zero difference, because the things that we're coming up with are like in the drawings that we did with Adam. Tell a story with it, you know. So those details are sort of dreaming the dream on a little bit. There's some active imagination aspect of it. So yeah, I would say that this is a dream. It's a dreamy dream. It's a dreamy dream. If I'm thinking the plane is the anima, it's a very that to me awakens energy within me. Is the plane is the anima. I have a very high vantage point, and I'm now alone with this mute anima. The shadow has descended. What next? Okay, and now Roy, why don't we all go? Roy, if you had this dream, can you think of things that you would cross your mind?
It's my dream. I would just say, wow, the dream maker can, be so funny. It's, I just think it's a funny dream. I just laugh at the unconscious.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, you know, uh, well, this morning when I had that vision of that face that was telling me no, I mean, that was one of the first times I'd actually had a real time dialogue in an active imagination where something was pretty, overt. What do you think, Ivan? You had this dream. What would cross your mind? I mean, as far as what is your attitude? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel just totally confused, or what do you think?
If I had this dream, I would feel like it's a message of maybe not putting all your trust in authorities. Like ideas from up above might not always be valid or good, is how I would interpret this dream if I had it for myself. Like, just because something comes from up high doesn't mean that it's to be trusted. It still needs to be considered.
It's a great job, in charge of the. It kind of reminds me of, my dream job was Lil Abner. He was a mattress tester. I don't know. Do you remember Lil Abner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every morning he would take a lunch pail, go test mattresses. What do you think, Kevin? You had this dream. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I don't know if I have so much to say. If I remember correctly, he was observing this from a window. Is this correct?
Yeah, from
And
a office window.
yeah, so I would ask myself, what in me is somewhat observant of something other parts of myself. So which you are behind a window, so a there is a, you can say, a disconnect in some sense. I don't know, like there is a good article. I wish I had my computer. I just have my phone now, by Dr. Beebe and Sanders, where they talk about things high up, uh, which is the contrast between the instinctual and the spiritual. I don't know if this plane is about your spiritual life and you are sort of having this window behind and you're observing it, and some sense trying to fix it. There is a fearfulness of something is gonna be grounded, you know, something from above is gonna hit below. But to be honest, I really don't know. If we were just to analyze the painting without your story and just have to go from that, like I said, the color purple usually is spiritual. If we don't include your personal association, and the color you are using in your image, they are not really earth.
I got my dog mute on there. It would be, the purple would be something to do with the fact that she's a queen, you know, or she's very a royal figure, you know. So anyway, Dawn, if you ever do want to say anything, you totally have the floor. So, but you can just whenever you feel like it, or you don't have to feel like it. Ivan or Roy, do you have a dream that you want to? I'm going to think more about this, Gary, of course. So
hard to interpret this one. This is like a real head scratcher.
well, yeah, it is. But I know it's got an answer to it. And I had a dream one time where these clown figures are just leaping over cars, you know, and but it seemed like a very meaningful dream to me, you know, but I don't know what it meant. Do you have a dream, Ivan?
I always have a dream, but
Yes, I know. I mean, I love Ivan dreams. They're the best.
Crazy. Hey, look, come back. Yeah, I have lots of dreams, but if someone had one that was really interesting that they wanted to share, I'd be happy to defer because these are. I just have lots of dreams right now.
Did you have a dream that you want to talk about, Roy or Dawn?
Nothing real pressing. Yeah, I just got a big bunch of dreams. Nothing real pressing.
Well, somebody just jump in.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So I've been having a lot of dreams where like I have really, sorry, I'm trying to choose a dream out loud here, but I've been having lots of dreams where I can remember like really interesting locations, but I can't remember what happened in the dream. And it's been really frustrating because I want to revisit those locations and understand what it meant, but I don't remember like the actual events that occurred. The dream I had last night that's kind of, I've been trying all day to just remember it. I meditated for a little bit, trying to like get a little closer to it was, and actually then I'll tell an actual dream that I have that I can remember that seems kind of close. So I'm like in the mountains, just out in nature, and I'm at a lake and there's forest. It's really beautiful. And I step into the lake and I sink into it, and I like, it's almost like everything flips upside down. And then when I pop out of the lake on the other side, everything's the same except I'm sure you've seen the pictures out of San Francisco recently where like the sky is all orange and everything's tinted like there's a forest fire. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. Son doesn't want to go to bedtime. So the sky is all orange and I can tell that I've entered like a different realm. Like I'm sure I'm in a different world of some sort. And I have this feeling that I don't exist in this world. Like it's like an alternate dimension where I'm not there, and it's a little bit menacing, but not necessarily specifically evil. But I can't remember what happened in that dream past that. So that one's just been bugging me all day.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, you are in the unconscious, and the unconscious is represented by the mountains, the forest, and the lake. Okay, so this has got the mountains are usually thought of as the mother, and the hi Kevin, and the of course the lake is a different unconscious than the ocean, but it's still the unconscious. And then the forest, again, it's the unconscious of the rooted things. So it really is a really realm of images. You know, every morning I say hello to the forest, and then I try to assume, personify the forest, and look at myself and then answer. You know, so anyway, this is an unconscious realm. Then you sink into the unconscious in the lake, and as you do, suddenly you come out in an alternate universe that's the same, but it's below. Now this is a very interesting, the realm below that mirrors this one. You know, that was in a very famous picture where the alchemists are performing these rites in the vessel, and then there's showing in the other realm that the same things are happening. In other words, what we do in this realm feeds the realm, the inner realm. You know, so there is that aspect. Now, you know, I had this dream the other night of a man who was my double, and he told me that we're living the same life, you know, and that we are identical. So anyway, this is you are seeing the realm of soul. You are seeing the inner realm. What one thing that Jung's soul told him is that she is trying to glean as much from his life as she can, because she is going to spend the entire eternity and needing this data that she collects from Jung's very short life, you know. So she's saying that, you know, he's her provisionally, you know, and so you're seeing this other realm. I'm going to see if I can find that picture. It's an alchemical picture of the upper realm and the lower realm, you know. But then and then the everything is very magically colored in this realm. So it's like this, like the when you see the sky and it's pink and orange and all of that kind of stuff, you know, it's very unusual, and sometimes the clouds and the sun look very you know, there's just something about them that is not that is not an ordinary reality. Okay, what do you think, Roy?
Oh, yeah. Let me ask Ivan a question or two. Yeah, that's when you have a lake in a dream, people sort of hug the shore. But I mean, what were you? Did you think anything before you went into the lake? Did you just go right in there like no big deal?
I just went right in there like it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's a little bit unusual. And then he doesn't remember any of the rest of the dream. Maybe his conscious couldn't handle it, because that is so much unconsciousness. I mean, who is that? Who was that would go right into a lake? I mean, nobody does that. He didn't think twice about it. It might have been just overwhelming for him. It sounded like he just got overwhelmed.
And then sink down into it.
I didn't wake up like it was a nightmare. I just woke up and all I could remember was that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember being like distressed by it. Just kind of, I was actually woke up really interested by it. I was like, where was I?
I mean, Gary has this alter ego that I was talking about, this humorous, but Ivan has this alter ego that's uh, kind of like, I call it Eligua. You know, it would be like Mercurius. Uh, he can just do wondrous things in the unconscious. He has no fear of it. Uh, and I just think that's unusual. It's a pretty spectacular trait I've been noticing in Ivan.
Well, I used to be able to, when I was younger, I used to be able to lucid dream a little bit. Um, and I found I could kind of get myself out of nightmares by understanding I was in a dream. But I never really liked to, I like to be more passive in my dreams. I didn't really want to lucid dream because I wanted the dreams to be dreams. But I think consequently, I don't really worry about nightmares so much. So I don't know if that affects how I dream or not. But it doesn't seem like I wake up really ever too disturbed by my dreams.
Well, you know, you can't control the dream. So you're saying what you're saying, but you really can't control a dream. If it's going to throw a nightmare on you, it's nothing you can do about it. It will just come out of nowhere. You have no control.
Yeah. What do you think of the aspect of that he enters a dual realm, but it is inverted from this realm? I mean, you can say it's upside down, but I would say it's when it's upside down, we just turn that way. Like if you go through the center of the earth, you reach a point where there's zero gravity, so you can only fall to the center of the earth. If there was a hole drilled through the center of the earth, you would fall to the center, and then you might overshoot it a little bit, but then you're going to fall back to the center again. So you're going to keep falling to the center, you know. But this is the other side of the earth. You know, we've through sinking into the lake, we've shown ourselves up on the other side of the earth, which is sort of a mirror realm to this world. Yet it has different tints, colorations, or hints. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I guess I'm just like you. I want to ask, what was the before dream and what was the after dream? You know, because this seems like an introduction to a new realm that, you know, that you're being introduced to. Like, okay, here it is, and you know, the inversion part is really interesting though, because to me that's like saying, you know, and the different colors sky. It's saying, okay, now we're going to see things in a new way, in a totally different fashion. So, but nothing really, is that right? Nothing really happens down there. You just kind of see all this and then wake up. Is that the end?
Yeah, pretty much. So I do have a dream that was maybe a month or two before this, but it's in the same location, but not in the inverted world. So I could share that dream. I don't know if
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead. It'd be kind of interesting.
Okay. So it's in the same mountain sort of setting, but I'm not in. It seems sort of the same, but I'm not in nature here. I'm in like a town in the mountains. So I'm staying in a very large bed and breakfast sort of building with lots of other people in a posh remote mountain town. Someone remarks that it used to be super busy, but now due to COVID, there are not nearly as many people. We go out on the town and walk around, but every restaurant, bar, and shop has been shuttered. The group I'm with can't understand why people aren't out during this pandemic and how the businesses could close. Two of them go to explore a tunnel underground. I go to follow with another, but quickly I'm disgusted to find raw sewage and I refuse to enter. The person I'm with thanks me for taking a stand against going into the sewer, and we are able to convince the rest of the group to return, and then we tour the town.
Okay, well, that one would be an idea of the again, in the lowest place is where we find the gold, so there is an idea of the in the sewer area, this place that's rejected is that's normally what that means. In the place that is rejected is where the work begins. But I mean, that's very theoretical and conceptual. Now let's apply that to this dream. Okay. In this dream, see, there's nothing rejected in this dream. It is all, what we're really seeing is the gold. I think when we sink into the unconscious, when we sink into the depths, we invert our attitude, and now it's not the conscious mind that is in control here; it's the unconscious mind, and so it's a different way of looking at things. And here, there is a lot of feeling function. The colors represent the feeling functions, and so you're an intuitive thinker, right, Ivan?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I'm in J,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you'd be the same as Kevin, and oh no, wait, you'd be the same as me. I'm an INTJ as well, and so the there's this the first dream is it seems to be one of complete transformation. I mean, it is just sinking into the depths. We will transform, and there's no doubt about it. The second dream, which was earlier, tends to say it has nothing about the inner world. The inner world really, at that point, is a lot more undifferentiated. It is the sewer. So the inner realm, as far as the conscious attitude is concerned, is the sewer, you know. And so who wants to, that we're not sinking into that. That's not anything we're going to sink into, and that's not what we, anything that we want. So anyway, I'm going to go again. That Kevin, did you have any comments on this one?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, if I had this dream, I would just, I think I would just be blown away, absolutely blown away. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just seems to me like I found the portal, I have found the permeable, open door to the unconscious, and it is this lake in which I just sink into the depths. And when I sink into the depths, suddenly the feeling function and everything comes alive, in this realm. It's not the ordinary reality. It is a one that's very lit by the feeling function. So that's what I would say about this dream. The one that happened previously, I would say that it is the in this dream, the inner world and the outer world seem much more friendly to each other, but in the other dream, the inward realm and the outer realm reject each other. The inner realm is rejected by the conscious attitude, and it just calls it a sewer. Now, what did they congratulated you for?
Yeah, so I'm in a group of 4 people, including myself, and 2 of them decide to enter and go through this tunnel. And I'm already kind of wary about going in there. But as I enter, I realize they have entered a sewer, and I turn around and refuse to go in and make a stand. And the person I'm with thanks me. And because we make this stand, then the other two people return.
Yeah, you are recognized it as a place. Now, I'm not saying it isn't a place of worthlessness and of lack of value, but typically that's how the conscious mind sees the unconscious, as a place of no value, you know, and where in this other realm, there's no question of the value of that realm. Now, in the first dream though, you never did return from that, did you?
No.
You just glimpsed it, and that was kind of it. So anyway, yeah, that dream to me is one. I think both Gary and Kevin or Ivan's dream are make me dizzy. You know, I mean, I love the dynamic quality of Gary's dream, and in Ivan's dream, I love the idea of this sort of almost anesthetizing ourselves in the lake, and when we do that, we come out on the other side, and there's this vision of the other world. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, well, I'm a feeler. I'm not a thinker. So I can't think of this realm in the lake because it just boggles my mind. I'm not that good at thinking anyway, but you keep talking about the colors and the feeling, so I can feel. So, I get this feeling of Alice in Wonderland. She went down the rabbit hole, and then all these feeling sensations. And maybe that's what knocked Ivan out. I mean, he wasn't scared or anything, but he couldn't get any more out of it because he's overwhelmed with all these feelings.
Yes, it is. Ivan, what did you think of the dream at the end? I mean, aren't you a little isn't there, you said that you remember all these fabulous places in your dreams, but you can't remember the dream. This seems like a pretty fabulous place.
Yeah, I wanted to remember more because I wanted to know what this place is and what it represented. There was that menacing quality to it, but not that it was evil, but that like I was to explore it. Like what I do kind of remember is I think that there was some aspect of exploration to this place. Like I could explore this world, but because I didn't exist in it, I was free to do as I pleased. Not necessarily affect everything that is happening in the world, but just explore it without causing, issue. Was the feeling of it.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of an invitation to you to linger here.
Yeah, like I wasn't unwelcome in it at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I like both dreams. I like the first dream, or the one you had earlier. There's nothing bad about that dream, other than, that's definitely would be a dream that you would think happened previous to this one, because that place is somewhat denigrated and demonized as the sewer, where in this dream it's the place of transformation, and that's almost palpable when we go into that section. So anybody else, if this was your dream, Gary, what would you think?
Well, that he's able to just enter it so easily.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
That he knows he's not a part of it, but he's free to explore. I mean, you know, it just sounds like a real beginning, you know, especially with the earlier dream where he just rejects it. It's like, no, this is a sewer. I'm not going there. And now it's like, oh, you know, now it's this realm where you enter, everything is inverted, including, you know, colors in the sky. And you're not, you know, it's neither here nor there. You know, you're not really there. So to me, it sounds like a beginning of entry into the unconscious, but we don't really know where it's going to go yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wanted. Do you have any comments on it, Kevin? I wanted to show this.
No, not really.
This. Okay. Well, let's see if I can get this image here. It's I like you know, for some reason this thing just seems like it just shares the screen, but it's okay, I guess. All right, here we go. Okay, so this one, the lower realm, is the alchemist and his mystical sister are performing are doing something in the lower realms, and in the upper realms, the flask there is responding to what's happening in the lower realms. So you know, they are, whatever they do here is mirrored there. You know, so that is the you know, the man who tells me that he's living my own life, that we're identical, we're twins, and the fact that this realm, that the sewer in the first realm is the mirrored world, but yet we're not, we don't have access to it, and it's undervalued. In the second dream, its presence takes on a much more noble aspect. It's not rejected, you know. So anyway, it is a beautiful dream, Ivan. I mean, you never disappoint. I love when there's some statement made at the end, though, that is more profound than any part of it. Did you want to tell us a dream, Roy? And maybe we can just get started on it. And
I had a dream with Stuart, which is sort of interesting. It's pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Stuart was visiting me at my house.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the main room of the house. Stuart was sitting at a table reading a book. I was lying on a bare mattress reading a red book, but it wasn't actually the red book, but it was a red book. It was a book of writings I had collected. It was late afternoon, and we decided to go for a walk. Okay, Stuart had this guinea pig, and I had to get a dog. I had a dog. The dog was actually a pet that I used to have named Bubba. And then I said, did I feed Bubba today? Then I woke up. It was like we were going to go through this screen door outside, and my dog was going to attack Stuart's guinea pig. And I don't know, I got the dog, or I intercepted it in time, so nothing bad happened. But that was a little short dream that I had when Stuart asked me to be part of a group, and Gary too and stuff. But I didn't join, and I had that dream a day or two later.
Yeah, well, you know, Stuart is certainly permeable to the unconscious, like no one I've ever met. You know, it is so he's this sort of a medium to the, you know, they call themselves trans mediums, you know, so they really are where Jung said the shaman is a medium to the other world, and that is not the realm of the role of the analysand, they or the analyst. The analyst is sort of the midwife to the inner world, where the medium is actually the introitus apertus, or the open door. So Stuart represents the open door to the permeable world. He's come to visit you. He's reading and you're reading, or
Yeah, he's reading a book at
Yeah.
a table, and I'm on a mattress reading a book.
yes. So you're both reading, and your book seems to have full of feeling function. It's a collection of writings. Then you guys go for a walk. He has an instinctive element with him, but your instinctive element is going to come in conflict with his, and you are wondering if your instinctive element has been tamed enough, or if it's wild because you haven't been giving it proper nourishment. So if you don't give it proper nourishment, it's going to be more likely to attack the instinctive element of this medium figure, who's really a medium to the land of the dead, really. What do you think, Gary?
Well, so you're worried that your dog is going to attack his guinea pig. And I didn't quite follow what you said there, Craig.
That it's his instinctive elements. So remember Stuart? I mean, not Stuart, but Roy's instinctive elements that appear in the field, the dachshund that later becomes a cat. So it's his somewhat domesticated instinctive elements, and Stuart's somewhat a slightly less domesticated, but still domesticated instinctive elements now, just like that vessel. So the instinctive is the instinctive spirit of Stuart going to conflict with the instinctive world of Roy, and is Roy's instinctive world going to come into a dangerous conflict with Stuart's instinctive world?
Right. And that's interesting that happens all just as they're opening the door to the outside. So they're, and of course, Stuart must represent a transmedium aspect of Roy in this is, what would make the most sense. But, what we're calling the instinctive, what you're calling the instinctive element, there's two things that are in conflict here, which are maybe, holding back the full exploration of the unconscious. So, and that makes it a concern. I mean, that's the only thing I'm getting. What do you think, Craig? You see anything else, or?
Oh, well, Ivan, what do you think of what what he said?
Well, it seems to me it's almost like your concern is that one aspect of your unconscious will swallow another aspect of your unconscious whole, which is interesting. It's some form of unintended conflict within you that something larger is going to destroy, or something stronger inside of you is going to destroy a weaker or inferior aspect of yourself.
It's interesting. What does Stuart represent? I mean, I think in this case, Stuart is representing a wisdom that might be somewhat alien to Roy. It is has to do with there's an aspect of it that it's very fascinating, but it's actually the dead explaining how their universe is organized, whether they went through the first transition or the second transition. You know, I mean, but they seem to be people who were alive at one time and now aren't. So there's slightly, it's very alien to us. It doesn't seem to, it seems to be very, very objective. Isn't really something that we can, that's of a personal transforming character, you know, or you know, they seem to be beings that are completely outside and of us, you know. Although it's extremely fascinating to hear them describe what what they call the transition. It's not death; it's a transition. And I'll tell you, that's the one thing I gathered from Stuart's work is there is no such thing as death. It was fairly clear. I don't think this was Stuart talking in Patrick. Do you, Gary?
No.
Or was it his unconscious? I don't think it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. What do you think, Kevin? What do you think about this dream?
I mean, we always say that we should follow our instincts, and I felt like Roy did that. So I felt like the way I interpret the dream is that the unconscious told him, you know, your decision is right. You know, instinct says you shouldn't. You know, your instinct says this is something that is not too welcome, and you know, you're reading your own red book. I mean, it's not the red book as such, but it was your own personal journals and writings. And so I feel like, you know, your unconscious knows that this is something that also needs to be taken care of. So I feel like your decision was right, and your unconscious felt something is not, at least for you, for your personal benefit, is not quite what your psyche is looking for. So it did what it had to do in the dream.
You know, I had a dream. I was in this group with, I don't know if you guys know Skip Conover or whatever his name is, but you know, his, it was, I became kind of a shadow figure for him. And, you know, I don't take things literally, and he was taking things pretty literally and caused kind of a little bit of a episode in one of the things and kind of blaming me for it. And, you know, so, you know, I was sort of asked to leave the group. That's how I kind of started my own little thing here, you know, and I had a dream that C.G. Jung himself came into this Skip's class and like Jesus overturning the money changers' tables in the Temple of Jerusalem chased him out of his own class. And it was, I don't know what that meant, but it was, I guess the idea I thought was that we need to take these images seriously, you know, and they're real and they're not us. And there's nothing, you take them literally, you know, I mean, you know that, Gary, from Hillman's book, you know, is absolutely so alien. So I think to some extent, I don't know how much you were exposed to Stewart's transmedium sessions, Roy. Did you see any of them or?
I did a session with him,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, he when you were doing the thing on Saturday, he was there pretty much a lot. When you changed it to Sunday, so I heard you and him talk about that subject a lot. But I interpreted the dream like Kevin said. I took it as my instincts, which was a black dachshund that I used to have, was just saying, you know, this isn't for you. And that's how I interpreted it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and so, you know, there's some dreams where the characters in it are objective, you know, in other words, they represent something within us. And I think in this dream, it's really more subjective, that this is representing Stewart and his wisdom and your wisdom, or whatever you've discovered. And there's a conflict of the instinctual aspects of yours versus his. There's a you sensed that a little bit, you know. I'm fascinated by Patrick. You know, I don't know about you, Gary, but I felt like we were betraying Patrick by ending those sessions, you know, that he was just getting into it and then we stopped doing it, you know, so, you know, but anyway. Well, anyway, we will have the, you know, the unpublicized Wednesday. Oh, Dawn has a question. I have a question for Ivan I'd like to ask before this ends. So go ahead and ask your question, Dawn. Did you want to put it in the chat?
I'm sorry, I'm new to Zoom and
Okay.
I'm pressing all the wrong things.
Okay, well, just go ahead and ask the question, yeah.
Well, because he chose to go through, I was wondering about, and I always have trouble explaining what this feels like, but it's like retaining your consciousness when you're dreaming. If he was deciding to go through on purpose, it seems to me that he would I wanted to know if he it feels like you're the you that you are when you're awake instead of the you that you are when you're dreaming. It's a change that I started noticing happening over the last 7 years, and then I meet you guys, and I've he also talked about lucid dreaming and having to, you know, that he had done that before. So I just wanted to ask him if that was something he felt when he went to the other side, still conscious.
Yeah, so I don't think in the dream. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to take this. I'll save
Okay.
this for next time.
Go
Sorry.
ahead. Well, yeah, and I might just add something while he's talking. Dawn, what one of the things that you mentioned that just hit me was Alice Through the Looking Glass. You know, I mean, it is actually almost seems like it really is Alice Through the Looking Glass, that he's you know, Alice, not the one in Alice in Wonderland. She goes up, stands in front of the mirror and puts her hands through and then goes into that world. You know, it was a different way of entering, but yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. What did you what aspect of this seemed familiar to you over your activity over the last 7 years that you were speaking of?
Yeah. I'm on. Okay. So I'm nervous about saying anything because.
Oh yeah, well, don't. Then.
I'm afraid I will say things I don't mean to say.
Well, yeah, definitely. But I do see that too. Now, we do have that Wednesday session if you want to come to it, and that's not on YouTube or anything. So it's just a private session, and maybe we can. You can talk a little more freely there. You know, it's going to be just it's a private. Pretty much everybody here. Charles wanted to come. He's going to do 2 dreams at once, but he must be having a prior engagement, you know. But let's just kind of review Roy's dream about Stuart. I think it was a subjective dream. Ivan's dream about going through the looking glass was it's very magical, and I like comparing it with the one about where the looking glass world is the sewer, and then Gary's dream of the high vantage point, the anima, which is very mute and just as a vessel, you know, waiting to be filled, and then these trickster shadow figures that seem to be. They kind of remind me, if you've ever in Thus Spake Zarathustra, you know, the tightrope walker goes out on the tightrope, you know, and then suddenly a little door opens and out comes this almost monkey-like figure who starts leaping over the tightrope walker and makes him so unsteady he falls off the tightrope and falls to the ground, you know, and he's not dead, but he's dying. And Zarathustra comes up and tells him, and he's really speaking to Nietzsche here. He says, don't worry. He says, your soul will be dead before your body is. So there's nothing to fear, you know, which was really what happened to Nietzsche. You know, he got schizophrenia, but I guess the point there is this activity of the shadow figures on the wing of this plane seem to not really be up to any good. You know, there's an aspect of their, you know, very, very shadowy, you know, very alien. But the part I like about it the most is, what does it mean to be the master of the unconscious in the upper realms? That's your job. And it really looks like it's like you're in the conning tower of an airport. And the idea is just to observe, you know, and that is your occupation. Well, Kevin, if you come to the Wednesday session, you're up for a dream too. You know,
Yeah, sure.
I think your last one was pretty good. I liked it, you know. So anyway, well, I'll see you guys all Wednesday if you want to come, and hopefully we get Charles back too, and Dawn, you're invited. It's on this link, you know, but it's just we talk. Won't be on YouTube though. So anyway, well, I'll see you guys all hopefully in a couple days. Okay. Okay. Have a good evening, everybody. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.